Imperial fleet sent to conquer Earth, humans annihilate them in seconds. HFY sci-fi story. The Imperial fleet of the Razathian Empire loomed in space, a vast armada of warships, each one bristling with advanced weaponry and shields capable of withstanding the most devastating attacks. They had traveled across the stars, from their homeworld on the edge of the galaxy, with one mission: conquer Earth. The Razathians had heard whispers of Earth's primitive inhabitants. They believed humans were weak, their technology far behind the might of the Empire. Their spies had reported that Earth's most advanced weapons were little more than toys compared to what the Razathians commanded. Earth would be an easy conquest, a stepping stone for further expansion. They arrived in Earth's orbit in the dead of night, their ships casting long shadows across the moonlit surface. Massive destroyers and cruisers descended toward the planet's surface, their weapons primed. Razathian commanders smiled in anticipation. The time had come to prove their superiority. But what they didn't know was that Earth wasn't as helpless as they assumed. On the ground, the world's greatest military leaders watched the sky in disbelief. The sudden appearance of the alien fleet had sent every nation into a frenzy. Nuclear weapons were readied, and armies mobilized. But no one had any illusions. This wasn't a war that could be won with tanks or bombs. Earth's best technology was no match for the overwhelming power of the invaders. That was until a small, unnoticed satellite relay began transmitting a signal from a hidden installation deep beneath the Arctic Circle. It was an old project, abandoned for decades, known only to a handful of scientists and military leaders. The project's purpose had been kept secret from the world, a way to harness the very forces of nature themselves. The Earth Defense Network had spent years perfecting a weapon, not of bombs or guns, but of something far older, far more primal, something that could make even the mightiest of invaders quake. Back in space, the Razathian commanders waited for their forces to move into position. But then, a strange signal appeared on their screens, one they didn't understand. The transmission was encoded in a frequency they'd never encountered before, and their advanced AI systems couldn't decrypt it. They attempted to disable the signal, but it was too late. A blinding flash of light erupted from Earth's surface, striking the fleet with the force of 1,000 suns. The Razathians had underestimated Earth, but not in the way they thought. Earth wasn't defenseless. Humanity had a weapon they'd never expected. The power of the Earth's magnetic field, combined with the hidden research into quantum mechanics and energy manipulation, had given rise to a devastating new weapon, a planetary EMP cannon capable of disabling any technology in its path. The first wave of Razathian ships went dark instantly. Their shields flickered, their engines sputtered, and the once mighty warships came to a halt in space. But the humans weren't done. The second burst of energy that followed was even more intense, and the remaining Razathian ships were reduced to floating debris in seconds. On the surface of Earth, humans watched in awe as the sky cleared, revealing the debris of the invaders' fleet. The Razathian armada was gone, its ships reduced to shattered metal in the blink of an eye. It had taken less than a minute. No one could explain it, how a species once seen as primitive had pulled off such an astonishing victory. But the message was clear: humanity wasn't weak, humanity wasn't helpless. And anyone who dared to challenge Earth's place in the universe would learn, all too quickly, that humans would always find a way to survive. The destruction of the Razathian fleet was not the end, but rather the beginning of a new chapter in Earth's history. The world collectively held its breath, unsure of what the next steps would be. The skies, once filled with the haunting shadow of alien ships, were now silent. But beneath that silence, something had changed. Earth had just sent a message across the stars, and it wasn't just to the Razathians. The news spread across the globe in seconds. News networks scrambled to broadcast the footage of the invader fleet disintegrating in real time, while military leaders and scientists tried to make sense of the sudden victory. They had assumed the weapon was a one-time event, a desperate move to repel an overwhelming threat. But as the hours passed, the governments of Earth began to realize the true significance of what had happened. Humanity had just unlocked a power that could bend the very fabric of the universe. A week after the Razathian destruction, the UN called an emergency summit. The military and scientific communities were in overdrive, examining the remnants of the alien fleet's technology, while a team of top engineers worked to reverse engineer the newly discovered weapon that had crippled the invasion. On the summit floor, World leaders gathered, their expressions grim but hopeful. The general consensus was clear: Earth had been lucky. The alien fleet had underestimated them, and the unknown weapon had been the decisive factor. But what would stop other alien species from coming to Earth, intent on conquest or destruction? "We can't rely on just a single secret weapon," said President Harper of the United States, her voice steady but tinged with worry. "We need to ensure that this doesn't happen again. We need to understand how to defend ourselves permanently." Across the table, Dr. Lucas Pierce, a leading scientist and one of the few who understood the full implications of the weapon, stood. His normally calm demeanor was replaced with urgency. "I don't think we need to worry about next time," he said, his eyes scanning the room. "I believe the real question is, who else is out there watching us, and what do they now think of humanity?" Deep in the reaches of space, the Razathians were not the only ones taking note of Earth's newfound power. The message had not gone unnoticed. Far beyond the reaches of the Razathian Empire, in a distant corner of the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched the events unfold. The Council was a coalition of highly advanced species, most of whom had never encountered humanity. They had observed Earth's primitive societies for centuries, dismissing them as inconsequential. But now, things were different. "Humanity has just shown us something unprecedented," said High Chancellor Thalric of the Tvather, a race of energy-based beings who could manipulate the fundamental forces of nature. A species with no formal understanding of the deeper laws of the universe just demonstrated the ability to disrupt even the most advanced technologies in an instant. "What else do they possess? No one has ever wielded this kind of power before," added Velkin, a representative from the Zdirii, a race known for their technological mastery. "This could change everything." A sharp silence fell over the room. For the first time in recorded history, the Council was uncertain. Back on Earth, humanity was still in shock. But now the focus shifted. The power that had saved them from the Razathians was not just a weapon, it was an opening, a door to understanding the universe in ways that had only been dreamt of before. Researchers began to study the ancient records, cryptic notes, and mysterious technology that had been left behind from Earth's lost civilizations. The knowledge was vast, hidden deep within the ruins of forgotten cities and buried beneath the ice of Antarctica. It was clear that humanity's ancestors had once possessed an understanding of the universe that rivaled, and perhaps even surpassed, the technology of the most advanced alien species. As humanity delved deeper into their own forgotten history, they began to unlock the true potential of their newfound power, and with each revelation, the question of whether Earth was truly ready for what lay ahead loomed larger. The Earth was no longer a primitive planet, unnoticed by the greater galaxy. It had become a force to be reckoned with. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of space, an ancient race of conquerors, the Zarkali, watched from afar. They had heard rumors of Earth's victory, of the humans who had obliterated an entire armada in mere seconds. The Zarkali had once tried to invade Earth. They had been driven back before, but they were patient. They were ancient and wise. Their fleet had remained hidden in the outer systems for centuries, waiting for the moment to strike again. But now, as they saw what had transpired, they knew one thing for certain. Humanity was not the same species it had been before. They had discovered something dangerous. And the Zarkali, too, would have to adapt. As Earth braced for what was to come, one thing remained undeniable: humanity had risen, not just to survive, but to thrive. The question was no longer whether they could defend their home. The question was, who would dare to challenge them next? Imperial fleet sent to conquer Earth, humans annihilate them in seconds. HFY Sci-Fi story continued. Months passed since the Razathian fleet's annihilation, and Earth was undergoing a rapid transformation. What had once been a planet divided by politics, warfare, and economic instability was now a united force. The old borders between nations dissolved in the wake of the unprecedented attack. Humanity had, in essence, evolved. It was no longer just a collection of isolated peoples, but a collective force that was beginning to understand its true potential. With the technology salvaged from the wreckage of the Razathian ships, Earth's greatest minds, scientists, engineers, and even military strategists began to piece together the secrets of the advanced alien technology. The primary focus was the weapon, the energy manipulation field that had incapacitated the Razathians so quickly. The more they learned, the more they realized that this wasn't just a defense mechanism. It was a key to unlocking an entirely new understanding of physics, energy, and perhaps even the fabric of reality itself. Dr. Pierce, the scientist who had originally helped decipher the planetary weapons secrets, became the face of the new human scientific revolution. He and his team had uncovered ancient blueprints embedded in the technology, giving them a roadmap to accelerate human advancement far beyond what had ever been imagined. Humanity was no longer trailing the rest of the galaxy. They were beginning to lead. But as Earth advanced, so did the awareness that there were forces in the universe that had been watching. The Galactic Council had taken notice, and with it, an uneasy sense of anticipation began to spread throughout the cosmos. The Zarkali, a powerful, ancient race of conquerors, had long operated in the shadows, quietly observing lesser species, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They had heard rumors of Earth's sudden victory, the mysterious energy that shattered a fleet of the Empire's finest warships in mere seconds. The Zarkali knew they could no longer wait in the darkness. The time had come to test humanity. The first sign came when strange signals appeared on Earth's deep space radar, unlike anything humanity had encountered. These signals were both faint and oddly familiar, but their patterns were too complex to be dismissed as simple space noise. The world's most advanced observatories and satellites tracked the origin, and it became clear someone was coming. Dr. Pierce and his team worked tirelessly, analyzing every scrap of information. The signals were unmistakable, emanating from a location near the galactic core. Something was heading towards Earth, and it wasn't just any ship. It was massive, its energy output enormous. The Zarkali had arrived. The first Zarkali fleet entered the solar system, their ships dwarfing anything humanity had ever constructed. Their vessels were not just massive, they were living machines, bioorganic behemoths with technology that seemed both alien and eerily familiar. The ships hummed with an energy that humans could not yet comprehend. Global communications went silent as Earth's defense systems were activated. Military satellites, newly upgraded with alien technology, locked onto the incoming fleet. Humanity had prepared. The weapon they had used to defeat the Razathians was no longer a one-time fluke. It was now an integral part of their defense. Earth's leaders scrambled to determine a strategy. The Zarkali were known to be conquerors, a race that had once wiped out entire star systems in their quest for domination. Their technology was more advanced, their fleets more experienced, but Earth had something they didn't, a unified species willing to fight for its existence. When the Zarkali fleet entered Earth's orbit, they made no effort to communicate. Their warships glided silently into position, preparing for orbital bombardment. The leaders of Earth's new coalition watched with apprehension, knowing that this would be their true test. The Zarkali didn't want to negotiate. They wanted to break humanity's spirit and claim the planet. But humanity had already proven that they were not to be underestimated. The Zarkali began their assault, sending powerful energy pulses toward Earth. But Earth's defense systems responded almost instantly, firing bursts of concentrated electromagnetic pulses at the incoming blasts. The energy was absorbed, redirected, and reinforced with humanity's newfound weapon, which had now been refined. The first wave of attacks was stopped, not by shields or conventional weapons, but by the same force that had decimated the Razathians. The Zarkali fleet's technology failed to register the energy manipulation fields in time, and their weapons were rendered inert. Humanity's message was clear. Do not underestimate us. The Zarkali ships began to retreat, their commanders baffled. Their sensors couldn't comprehend what was happening. For the first time in millennia, a race they considered primitive had turned the tables on them. But the Zarkali were not easily deterred. Their retreat was temporary, a strategic withdrawal. They knew the Earth could not be subdued with brute force alone. But there was a greater power they hadn't yet reckoned with, humanity's adaptability, its relentless drive to survive, and its unity. The Zarkali, unlike the Razathians, would now face humanity's wrath. Dr. Pierce and his team were already at work, taking the lessons learned from their first victory and adapting to the Zarkali threat. They used the knowledge they had gained from their defeated enemies and the ancient relics they had uncovered to strengthen Earth's position. The world's greatest minds were no longer just studying alien technology. They were mastering it. The Zarkali had underestimated humanity before, and now they would pay the price. A month later, Earth's fleets, now equipped with weapons derived from the same energy manipulation technology, moved to intercept the Zarkali. It wasn't just an attack. It was a message. Earth was no longer a defenseless world. It was a rising power. And anyone who thought they could conquer it would soon learn that humanity fought not just for survival, but for the right to shape its own destiny. The Zarkali would learn this lesson the hard way, and the universe would soon know that humanity was no longer just a quiet corner of the galaxy, it was a force to be reckoned with. Imperial fleet sent to conquer Earth, humans annihilate them in seconds, HFY Sci-Fi story, continued. The Zarkali fleet lingered near the edge of Earth's orbit, hesitant, calculating their next move. They had underestimated humanity once before, and in their arrogance, they had made the mistake of assuming their victory was inevitable. They had never anticipated that a species so primitive could not only defend itself but strike back with devastating force. The galactic conquerors were no fools. They understood the gravity of what they had just faced. Earth had destroyed their first attempt at subjugation with an energy they couldn't even comprehend, a technology that no known race had ever managed to harness with such precision. And though the Zarkali had retreated to regroup, their fleet was now operating with caution, an unfamiliar emotion for a species that had dominated for millennia. In the heart of Earth's United Coalition Command Center, the air was thick with tension. General Jessica Alvarez, the head of Earth's new military alliance, stood before a holographic map of the solar system. The Zarkali fleet had pulled back, but they were not gone. Earth's defenses were stronger than they had ever been. But the reality was clear. This was not a single battle, it was the beginning of something much larger. The Zarkali had tasted humanity's strength, but they weren't about to give up their claim without a fight. "They're not done yet," General Alvarez said, her voice steady but resolute. "They'll regroup. They'll come back with something more. We can't rely on just the weapon. We need to adapt. We need more." Dr. Pierce, who had become Earth's leading mind in quantum energy manipulation, nodded grimly. He had been working day and night with the best engineers and military strategists, refining the weapon that had defeated the Razathians and the first Zarkali assault. The world had come together in a way that humanity had never seen before, pooling resources, knowledge, and energy into one unified effort. But Pierce knew that what had worked once might not work again. The Zarkali were a different breed, a species that had evolved for millennia through war and conquest. They would come back prepared, and they would be ready to learn from their mistakes. Earth couldn't afford to make any more. "We've unlocked something far beyond our expectations," Pierce said, his eyes distant as he examined the data. "But it's not just about creating more power. It's about understanding the universal laws we've only just begun to scratch the surface of. This is just the beginning." Meanwhile, in the Zarkali command ship, High General Zarlok paced in his chamber, his mind racing. His people had fought countless battles and conquered entire civilizations, but they had never encountered an enemy like this. The humans, primitive, naive, and seemingly weak, had turned their world into a fortress with a single, unexpected weapon. Zarlok had seen enough to know that humanity was no longer the easy prey the Zarkali had bought them to be. "We underestimated them," Zarlok growled, his voice echoing with disdain. "These humans. They have something we did not foresee, a power of will, of unity. They have potential." But potential alone was not enough. The Zarkali had dealt with resistance before, and they were no strangers to crushing it. The time had come for a new plan. "Prepare the fleet for Phase 2, Zarlok ordered. "We will strike at their heart. We'll take away the one thing they rely on most, their people. If we can fracture their unity, we can conquer their world. We will eliminate their greatest asset, their ability to come together as one." He turned to his subordinates, his glowing eyes filled with malice. "They will feel the full weight of our power. This time, we will not fail." Back on Earth, a new sense of urgency had settled in. The unified world knew that the Zarkali's next move would be even more aggressive. The military forces that had once been spread thin were now coordinated through a single system, sharing resources, intelligence, and technological advancements. The quantum weapon that had turned the tide of the previous battle was no longer Earth's sole reliance. Humanity had discovered how to channel this new energy into advanced shipbuilding, defense, and offensive strategies. Yet, There was something else Earth was learning, something that gave them hope and terror in equal measure. The quantum energy wasn't just a tool, it was a doorway. The more humans interacted with it, the more they realized it connected them to the fundamental forces of the universe itself. Through advanced study and experimentation, they were beginning to tap into something truly extraordinary, the ability to alter the fabric of reality on a scale that defied conventional physics. It was as if the laws of nature could be bent, twisted, and reshaped at will. Humans were starting to perceive the cosmos in ways they had never imagined before. Their sense of connection to the universe grew stronger with each passing day, a shared understanding that transcended borders, languages, and cultures. But that very power also frightened them. "Are we ready for this?" Dr. Pierce asked, staring at the glowing matrix of energy manipulation patterns. This is bigger than just defeating an enemy. It's changing everything." And yet, there was no turning back. The weapon wasn't just a defense anymore, it was a key to understanding the universe in ways that were both exhilarating and terrifying. The Zarkali fleet returned. This time, they came with a different approach, a plan to strike Earth at its most vulnerable point, the heart of its unity. The Zarkali unleashed a devastating psychological assault, sending waves of disorienting pulses through Earth's newly integrated global networks. The pulses wreaked havoc on communications, technology, and even individual minds, attempting to fracture the bonds humanity had so carefully formed. 4 days, chaos swept across the planet. Cities were plunged into darkness, military systems faltered, communications between governments and military forces broke down. The Zarkali sought to divide Earth's strength by sowing confusion and fear. But what the Zarkali hadn't counted on was humanity's indomitable spirit. Despite the overwhelming assault, despite the fear and confusion, Earth's people fought back. They fought not just with weapons or technology, but with their minds, their hearts, their unity. They had found something more powerful than any weapon, their collective will to survive. Within hours, Earth's new defense systems adapted. The energy manipulation technology, once used solely for offense, began to work in reverse. Humans, now attuned to the quantum field, used it to stabilize their systems, rewrite damaged code, and rebuild broken communications in real time. "We've learned to harness it," Dr. Pierce said, watching as Earth's networks came back online. "We've learned to become it." And just like that, the Zarkali's assault faltered. The tables had turned again. The Zarkali fleet, sensing the growing power of humanity, hesitated. Their strategy had failed. They had underestimated the human spirit, the drive that made Earth's inhabitants a force unlike any they had encountered before. This time, it wasn't just about technology or firepower. Humanity had unlocked the true potential of its unity, its ability to bend reality itself. And as the Zarkali fleet prepared for their final strike, they could feel the weight of that power pressing down upon them. The universe had just learned a powerful lesson. The age of humanity had begun, and no one would ever dare challenge Earth again. Imperial fleet sent to conquer Earth, humans annihilate them in seconds. HFY Sci-Fi story continued. The Zarkali fleet had withdrawn, but their retreat was not the end of their plans. They knew that Earth had just achieved something beyond their comprehension, something that, if left unchecked, could threaten the very balance of power in the galaxy. The humans were no longer a primitive species to be ignored. They had proven themselves a force to be reckoned with. High General Zarlok, after the failed Phase 2, stood in the war room of his flagship, a massive bioorganic vessel that pulsed with the collective consciousness of his people. His deep blue skin shimmered with the frustration of his failure, his glowing red eyes narrowing as he addressed his command council. "We underestimated them," he muttered, his voice like gravel. "This is no longer a simple conquest. Earth has something we never anticipated, something far beyond their capability to understand. They've tapped into the very fabric of the universe itself." A subordinate, one of the Zarkali's strategic advisors, stepped forward. "But General Zarlok, if their power continues to grow, if they master it fully, they could surpass us. We've never faced a species capable of altering reality as they do. Their weapon is not just a defense, it is an extension of their will. What if they begin to use it offensively on a galactic scale?" Zarlok stood in silence for a long moment, his mind working rapidly. He knew the Zarkali's position in the galaxy was precarious. They had always relied on their overwhelming firepower and mastery over the organic technologies they had bred over millennia. But now, their superior strength was no match for humanity's unpredictable ingenuity and unity. "We will not be the ones to fall," Zarlok said finally, his voice cold with determination. "It's time for the next phase of our plan. We will face them on their terms. If they can manipulate the fabric of reality, then we will teach them that not even they are immune to the consequences of such power." Back on Earth, humanity had turned its focus to what was happening beyond their world. Their new technology had opened doors to vast new potentials, but it had also invited the attention of other, far more ancient and dangerous forces. The Zarkali were only the first. Dr. Pierce and General Alvarez had worked tirelessly to ensure that Earth's defenses were ready for any new threats. The energy weapon that had once been their ultimate defense was now only one part of a larger strategy, an understanding of the universe that extended into realms humanity had never considered before. They had begun working on ships capable of navigating not just space but the very quantum realms they had begun to unlock. And in a quiet corner of the planet, humanity's greatest minds were beginning to explore the possibility of shaping time and space itself. But the Zarkali's return was not the only challenge facing Earth. The sudden surge in humanity's understanding of the universe had caught the attention of even more powerful entities, alien races with powers far beyond even the Zarkali's grasp. Across the galaxy, the Galician Accord, a neutral coalition of cosmic entities, had taken note of Earth's newfound power. They were beings of unimaginable strength, forces of nature, as old as the stars themselves. Some of them were born from the hearts of dying suns. Others existed as beings of pure energy. They had no interest in the petty squabbles of mortals, but they were deeply concerned about the humans' rapid ascent. "We must intervene," said Aelithar, the celestial of the unbound cosmos, one of the oldest and most powerful of the Galician entities. "If humanity's influence spreads unchecked, it could alter the balance of existence itself. Their minds are reaching into the very core of creation, and their unity has allowed them to transcend the limits that even the ancient races respect." Another celestial, Thrain, a being composed of sentient gravity fields, pulsed with a strange kind of resonance. "If they are left to their own devices, they may one day challenge even us. We should neutralize them before they can pose a threat to the fabric of the cosmos." The Galician Accord was divided. Some saw Earth's potential as a promise of new and untapped power, an opportunity to form a new alliance. Others, like Aelithar, believed that humanity's rapid advancement was too dangerous to allow to continue. The debate raged on. But one thing was clear: Earth had attracted the attention of forces beyond anything humanity had yet encountered. Back on Earth, the world had become accustomed to the sensation of being watched. As humanity's power grew, so did its influence on the fabric of reality. No longer limited to defending their planet, the humans began to expand, exploring and settling the surrounding planets in their solar system. They had no illusions about the dangers that lay beyond, but they were ready. They had unlocked the secret to survival not just through technology, but through the collective will of their people, a force that could not be easily crushed. And that unity was tested when the Zarkali made their final, desperate strike. The Zarkali unleashed a final attack, a massive, coordinated effort to destabilize Earth's quantum defenses. Their strategy was simple: they would strike at the very core of humanity's newfound power, attacking the quantum nexus that Dr. Pierce and his team had so carefully cultivated. They believed that if they could sever humanity's connection to the energy that powered their defenses, they could neutralize the humans once and for all. The attack came in the dead of night. Massive Zarkali warships descended toward Earth, their bioengineered ships cutting through the atmosphere like dark knives. They launched waves of energy pulses designed to disrupt Earth's quantum matrix, hoping to sever humanity's grasp on the fundamental forces they had learned to control. The world's greatest minds raced to respond, but it was General Alvarez who acted first. Leading a fleet of Earth's most advanced ships, she intercepted the Zarkali force in a flash of bright light. Ships clashed, energy shields flared, and the skies over Earth turned into a battlefield. In the heart of the conflict, Dr. Pierce and his team initiated the final phase of their countermeasure, a last-ditch effort to channel all of humanity's collective energy into a singular force. The energy surged, creating a barrier that not only shielded Earth from the Zarkali's attacks but also reversed their assault, sending a pulse that tore through the Zarkali's fleet with overwhelming force. It wasn't just a defense, it was an assault, a ripple of energy that reached beyond the battlefield, bending space and time itself. The Zarkali fleet was decimated in seconds, their ships disintegrating into particles as the very laws of nature were rewritten by humanity's will. The battle was over. Earth had triumphed again. But as the dust settled and Earth's forces returned to their homeworld, the world knew that this victory was only temporary. The Galaxian entities, the ancient powers of the cosmos, were still watching. They would not sit idly by forever. The question now was no longer whether humanity could survive, they had proven that. The question was, what would they become? And what would the galaxy do with a species that had just begun to rewrite the rules of existence? The age of humanity was just beginning, and as it rose, the universe would be forced to watch. Imperial fleet sent to conquer Earth, humans annihilate them in seconds. HFY Sci-Fi story continued. In the aftermath of the Zarkali's defeat, Earth began to rebuild, but it wasn't just the physical structures of cities and the systems of government that needed mending. Humanity was fundamentally different now. The shared victories and struggles had forged a collective identity that transcended borders. And as much as this newfound unity was a source of strength, it was also a source of unease for some. There was a subtle fear, a lingering uncertainty. What had they become? Dr. Pierce and his team, now regarded as the pioneers of this new era, worked diligently to refine the quantum technology that had propelled humanity's sudden rise. The energy fields, which had once been a simple defensive weapon, were now being woven into the fabric of everyday life. Buildings, transportation systems, even agriculture were being powered and stabilized by the energy manipulation fields humanity had learned to harness. But with this power came questions. The more humanity understood, the more it seemed that their limits were fading. For the first time in history, Earth was on the cusp of becoming a dominant force in the galaxy. The technology they had unlocked was nothing short of world-shattering, and the universe was watching. The Galaxian Accord had been monitoring Earth for weeks, their deliberations growing more urgent by the day. Though their representatives had never shown themselves, their influence was felt in the undercurrents of intergalactic politics. They saw humanity as a potential threat to the natural order of the cosmos, an order that had existed for eons, maintained by the delicate balance of power between ancient civilizations and forces that operated beyond comprehension. Alether, celestial of the unbound cosmos, paced in the floating chamber of his council, his ethereal form radiating waves of cosmic energy. His glowing, translucent presence flickered as he issued his decree. "It's time to act," he said, his voice resonating like the deep hum of distant stars. "Humanity's power must be curtailed. We cannot allow them to grow unchecked, or they will unravel the very fabric of existence. If we don't intervene now, we risk everything." Thrain, the celestial of gravity, rippled in silent agreement, his form folding in on itself like a black hole drawing in light. "I see their potential. They are like no other species we've encountered. They are fracturing the laws of time and space, opening gateways to forces they have no understanding of. Their unity, combined with their newfound power, is a disruption. If they continue down this path, the universe itself will bend to their will." "But how?" Alether asked, his energy pulse brightening. "How do we stop something that is already beyond our reach?" "We strike at their foundation," Thrain suggested. "We target the very core of their quantum matrix. Without it, their power is meaningless." On Earth, the growing sense of invincibility was palpable. The Zarkali had come with their greatest fleet and been obliterated. The world's leaders felt untouchable, and the public reveled in the newfound peace. No longer did they fear invasion. No longer did they cower before the unknown. The next step for Earth was to explore the stars, to establish humanity as a galactic power. But even as humanity celebrated its victory, Pierce and Alvarez sensed an unsettling truth. The Zarkali were only the first of many. If Earth's technology had drawn the attention of the Zarkali, then it had certainly drawn the attention of more powerful and ancient forces. Pierce stood at his lab console, his fingers moving across holographic displays. He had been studying the quantum energy with increasing concern. Something was off. The energy was too volatile, too unpredictable. It felt as though it had its own momentum now, as if it was reaching beyond human control. General, I think we've underestimated the consequences of using this energy, Pierce said, looking up from his readings. It's not just power. It's a disruption in the natural order. The more we use it, the more we attract the attention of forces far beyond the Zarkali, forces we may not be able to control. General Alvarez's gaze hardened. You mean the Galaxians? Pierce nodded slowly. Yes. They're not just watching us. They're studying us. And if we push too far, they will come. And come they did. Within a few days, Earth's observation satellites picked up something alarming, a massive, unidentifiable fleet approaching from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Massive, amorphous vessels that seemed to absorb the light around them, shifting in and out of reality as though they existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions. Alether and Thraon's fleets arrived in Earth's orbit with the subtlety of a thunderstorm. They made no attempt at diplomacy. There was no need for it. They had come with one purpose: to ensure that humanity's ascendancy was halted before it could reach a point of no return. What is this? General Alvarez's voice crackled through Pierce's comlink. This fleet, it's bending reality. We can't get a clear scan of their ships. They're not just physical, there's something else. Something alive. The Celestials, aware of humanity's power, weren't simply attacking. They were manipulating the very space around Earth, distorting gravity, time, and perception. They aimed to cripple humanity's ability to defend itself by severing the connection to the quantum matrix. We can't fight this with weapons, Dr. Pierce muttered, staring at the chaos unfolding on his screens. Their technology is beyond anything we've encountered. We need to understand it. Alvarez, grim-faced but resolute, spoke through clenched teeth. We'll find a way. For the first time since humanity's great leap forward, there was a sense of dread. The people of Earth had never truly known the scope of their potential. They had seen themselves as victors, underdogs who had risen to crush invaders. But now, they were facing an entirely different kind of enemy. The Galaxians were not interested in victory in the conventional sense. They sought balance, control, and the maintenance of cosmic order. To them, humanity's rise represented an existential threat to the structure of the universe itself. As the celestial fleet closed in on Earth, Pierce, Alvarez, and the coalition of world leaders began to realize the true nature of the challenge they faced. This wasn't just about fighting for survival anymore. It was about understanding the forces that now shaped the future of their species. They had unlocked the doors to a new power, but that power had brought them to the attention of beings that were older than time itself. Humanity's next move would be decisive. It would determine whether they would be crushed by the weight of cosmic inevitability, or whether they would rise to claim their place as the new force in the galaxy. The war for Earth had become a war for the soul of the universe itself. To be continued.